Hey everybody, welcome back. We're still in this thing. The tournament's still going. We made it through that last round and we've advanced over to this gentleman who was new to me as of the night of this tournament. Very respectful, very solid player. I caught a little bit of his previous match. Really steady fundamentals. You can tell he has a ton of experience. Great composure at the table, great sportsman. So yeah, lots of good things to say here. I want to just kind of jump right in. You'll notice that we are jumping into a bit deeper into this first game, unfortunately. I had to swap out a battery, and so we're already on the 4 ball. And I do believe he had the break. So this is off the break, and he's got a little tight on the 4. You could certainly stop this ball right there and try to take a tough cut on the 5. That's the 8 hanging in the bottom left-hand corner pocket there. And that's what he does. He gets a little bit out of the cue ball, which is okay. The 4 tends to want to slide down that rail into the pocket. And now we'll look at the combination. Carom's on. You could try to play really thin off the 5, but I don't like that as much as just playing the 5 into the 8. And 5 ends up going in off the 8. I'm not sure if that was the intention there or not. And threatens the pocket. It really looked like I was getting ready to hop out of my chair. It really looked like that was going to be a scratch. If he had scratched, it could be worse for him, right? You get ball in hand, and it's pretty tough to run that 7 down the rail when you're queuing awkwardly around the 8 ball. You could line up for a bank on the 7 if you wanted to, but as it stands, my opponent's got a pretty tough 1 rail kick into the 7. I think he starts to line up here on a 2 rail kick. Nope, he got down on a 1. It's just kind of the camera angle. Makes a good hit on the 7. Good kick on that. He does push it into a playable position here, so what I'm looking at is going to be a back cut on the 7 and either draw the cue ball to hold it down table and come back up for the 8, or you can use this thin cut and sort of just use speed to hold the cue ball and lay it up on that long rail. Making sure that the side pocket's not going to come into play here. And this is my first match of the game, coming off of last time, building up some confidence. This one is a bit of a tester just to get the right thin cut on the 7 and shape the 8. You don't want to turn the cue ball loose because you can end up coming back up table. So, not sure. I played that one pretty well. I think we just miscut it slightly or drew back too much. You can see where the cue ball ended up and used the 9 to slow itself down. 7's all but in the jaws of the pocket. It's just slightly on the point. And what he could do is come thin into the 7 and either lay up above the 8 or thin into the 7 and come down below. He went rail first on the right-hand side from his perspective of the rail. Cut the 7. Kind of risky since the 7 was on this rail. But makes a great shot. Yeah, he looks good. He's super steady. A little bit of a sort of a readjustment, which you'll see some of the top players do that. Jason Shaw comes to mind for getting down and then readjusting. Played that great there. Gets good, really good shape on the 9 by cheating the 8 ball into the far side of the pocket here. Nice, and puts that game away. So jumping into game 2, yep, he broke first, so alternate break. Still race to 3 here, the backside, 9 ball. And I lost my cue ball a little bit. Jumped over to the left-hand side of the table, got a little bit of help from some wild balls. And we did make the 8 ball on the break, and I've got a good look at the 1. Just have to think about how we want to shape the 2. Option to come down into this rail close to center table and play above the 2 ball for the long combo into the 6. Not a huge fan of that. The 2 could get pretty straight on the 6 and you could try to leave the 2 ball in the pocket, but distance between those combination shots really increases the difficulty. Other option would be to try to come straight back down. This is a pretty good play. Underhit this ball slightly. I think the intention was to get close to the 5, under the 2, so that we could play the 2 in the side. I get down right away, kind of sighting the 2 into the 6. But I know that I wasn't comfortable with the combination here, so we're going to go safe, drift him down. Hope was to get him behind the 6 and caught a little bit too much of the 2 ball there. So coming too thick into the 2 meant that we bumped the 9 instead of floating in behind the 6, which would have been a really nice position. Good way to get ball in hand. And he's got a bit of a back cut on the 2, which does naturally send him over for the 3. He decided to draw down below the 3 instead of just punching across table. He's still got to look at it, but now being below it, the 7's in the way. You don't really want to take on this back cut, although it does have a line to the pocket. He may just elect for... No, I think he played the 7. I think he liked how it lined up. Now I've got a good look at the 3 in the side, and shape is natural on the 4 ball here, so you just sort of roll forward, make the shot, and the shape takes care of itself. It's a good smooth roll there. And now we're dealing with a combination on the 4 and the 6. The 4 will naturally lay up. That's what I'm looking at, is where the 4 is going to go. If I overplay it, the 4 is going to come across table. Cutting into the 6 like this, the 4 is going to come back towards the 9. So you can shoot for playing above that 4 ball. And I let too much speed come into the cue ball. The direction was good. I judged where the 4 was going to go. I judged that properly. But the cue ball maintained a little bit too much energy, and now we're basically on top of the 4. I don't remember if it was frozen or not, but still in kind of a tough spot. My first instinct, I think, would be to thin the right side of the 4 and send him around 2 or 3 rails and create some distance. Yeah, that makes sense. Let's see how this works out. Yep, up table. We're going to give him an edge on the 4. Ideally, you would want to play speed control to end up here. Not even give him a look at the 4. But he's got an edge now. Can't really play the carom because the cue ball's on the bottom short rail. So he played the safe, banked the 4, and I think the intention was to leave the cue ball down below the 5. Which is a good play, but the speed got away from him a little bit, and cue ball drifted into the pocket. Now we've got ball in hand, 4 balls on the table. We run this out, right? We can make this one. So I'm looking at my line on the 7. Trust your stroke here, let this out, float back over to the long rail on the right-hand side. And I come up too low, and I leave myself on the rail. So... not a great position. I'm frustrated at that. This could have been a really straightforward out, and I've complicated it by now. I have a back cut on the 7 in the side that sends the cue ball up table. I can't really stun because I'm on the rail, so the cue ball is going to want to run through the 7. I decide to come thick into the 7 and just roll forward. This is a good play because it simplifies things. You end up taking a tougher shot on the 9. But you don't want to overplay that 7 ball to get cued on the 9 ball. Just take this harder cut and bear down and make the 9 ball. I go over to check the line, which is good, and I've got kind of smooth setup here. I do end up going 1-2 and shoot, which we know from the last match does not work out. I lay it up in the pocket. I think I took that cut for granted. Did not give the shot the respect it deserved, and we give up that game. Hopping into game 3 here. My opponent's already on the hill. These short races can be brutal. And he scratches on the break. So here's a chance. We need these chances. You can't be giving up 9 balls like that, guys. I mean, that happened in the last game, and need to learn that lesson and really bear down and just focus on consistency. So we've got ball in hand. Plenty of options for the 1 ball, but what I'm looking at is, could I get the breakout on the 9-6? Shape on the 2 is all but guaranteed as long as you play into the proper side of the 9 ball here, the left side of the 9 ball. I'm going to stun follow off the 1 down into the 9-6. Little touch there. Worked out. 6 has got a pocket. Shape's good on the 2. I think I go over to look at this because it's pretty deep in the jaws. And it's risky on diamond tables sometimes because the slate shelf goes so deep into the pocket. Going rail first, you can risk missing the ball. So sometimes it's better to go thin or maybe play a straight draw shot here just to get out of that top corner. That's what I go for, is straight draw. But underhit that one slightly too. So now we've got a bit of a cut on the 4. Yeah, and that's me just, I'm trying to let my stroke out more. In a lot of cases, especially these situations that we've seen in this tournament, you're better off erring on the side of slightly overplaying these shots. Because even if I had overplayed that, if I had gone too far on the draw, the line was still good to give me shape on the 4, and that cut on the 4 is going to give you shape on the 6 too. So a bit of a tricky cut, kind of a back cut, a bit of a blind pocket. Dog that one and get a roll. So I end up popping the 4 into the 6. It goes in off the 9. We don't have a clean pocket for the 4 ball. Tightening this up for the cross-side bank is complicated. I guess you could play a bit of a two-way. You could bank this down into the top left corner on the screen here. And if it doesn't go, it's likely to lay up behind the 7 and the 8. If it does go, you're likely to have a shot on the 7. That doesn't look terrible. In this case, what I start to look at is the long rail on the right-hand side gives you a pretty wide space to play the 9 ball. So if you send the 4 ball down towards the 9, you either make it clean by hitting it straight on, or that long rail helps you out. The 4 ball slides into it. And that's what I ended up playing for, was that wide position. Yeah, by the way, YouTube stuff, thanks for helping out. Likes and subscribes and comments, they help to grow the channel. So glad you guys are all here. So last game he broke and scratched, and I caught a couple rolls to keep me at the table. This game I break and it's a dry break. He's got a thin back cut on the 1, but I was able to come away with 1 game, so we're keeping it together. It's good shape on the 2, lets us stroke out a little bit, coming back and forth. 2 plays into the 6 here and should lay up. Give him a chance to follow up and get on the 3. He let up on that stroke a little bit. He let up on that one. He could have gotten a bit more out of it. I think probably the issue was trying to hold up the 2 ball too much. And you could see the bit of maybe deceleration in the stroke there. So I'm taking a look at this, and I like to give myself options. You play this with draw. It continues to roll that 2 ball through the 6. You can make the 2, get shape on the 3, and if the 2 lays up in the pocket, the draw still gives you the option of playing that 2 ball in the corner if you need to. Yeah, looking back on that one, that was a well-played shot. Worked out really well. So my patterns are starting to come together. I've got my composure under control. I definitely caught rolls in that last game, but we're starting to level out a little bit here. And this is just a simple 1 rail kind of float down for the 4. And again, that right there, sure, I got a lot out of that cue ball. Did I need to go that far? No. But the idea, the thinking was, let the stroke out, overplay these balls, and dial it back from there if necessary. And now we're perfect on the 4. So sometimes you have to tell yourself to overplay it a little bit. This is fine here. I think you could stop it and use the bigger pocket in the bottom right-hand corner. But I was playing for side pockets, probably more than I should have in this tournament. So a good line on the 7. Cue ball naturally wants to dive into this rail and bounce back up and get above the 8. If you feather the 8, it's going to push it towards the 9. You obviously don't want to mess with that too much. You could certainly come low outside and pull back around to give yourself a thinner cut on the 8, but to guarantee that you're not going to mess with those balls. You really don't want to dive into them too much. I'm coming with high, maybe just a touch of outside to straighten it out. And I didn't use enough outside, so I came into the 8. And I risked botching this run out. And this is off of his missed 2 to 6 combination. So thin cut on the 8, high outside here, a little bit of spin, takes off that second rail, pulls you back up above the 9. It's a good touch. And really good speed, all but perfectly straight in here on the 9. A little bit of a back cut. Just go behind the 9 to take a look at the line and play that one with confidence. Just, you don't need to overplay it. You don't want to punch that ball. And my opponent's breaking. Try break. So we're hill. It's been quite a match. A lot of back and forth, and we're getting our money's worth with this one, right? This is the most number of games that you can play in a race to 3. And I've got a decision. Do I want to try to float behind the 2, or do I want to send the 1 behind the 2 and the cue ball down table? I decide to play the 1 ball. And as I've said with other safeties, you want to think more about either the cue ball or the object ball and where you're moving those. In this one, if I had focused a bit more on the cue ball, I probably could have gotten better. He's calling the 9. I probably could have gotten better behind the 6. He's trying to make something happen here and doesn't get a roll. The 1 doesn't cooperate. But yeah, you can see maybe he's starting to feel a little frustrated, a little flustered. I'm taking a look at the cut angle on the 1. Based on the way I'm standing behind it, it might not go clean. I might not have a clean cut on this one. So you could try to go safe again, or you could play more aggressive and bank the 1 back in the opposite corner. Yeah, there's something I don't like about this angle. I don't want to sell out. We're hill. I don't want to leave an easy open shot because I know this guy can run tables. That's another trap too, right? You don't want to think too much about what your opponent's going to do. You want to just prevent them from doing things, right? That's the whole kind of point of the safeties and defense. I don't remember what I end up going with here. Let's find out. I did go for the bank and get a roll. It happens. But bit of karma, right? I don't get anything easy on the 2 ball. It's hard to tell if the cut is available here. That's what I'm looking at. And sometimes in situations like this, you might not have the full cut edge available to you, but you can kind of spin it. I was sizing up a jump shot there, so I guess more of the 2 is blocked than it would appear from the video. Jump shot. We have to jump over just a bit of the 9, and the cut would be on at that point. I think the intention would be once you make that cut, I guess I'm hoping the cue ball would come off the 2 back out this way. Again, the camera angle might be a little deceptive here. It looks too thin to really send me towards the 3. Pretty close. Made a good hit on the 2. Get a roll. Completely block him with the 6, 7, 8. And he's either going to have to make a good kick or also reach for the jump cue. This is a pretty straightforward jump, though. If you've got any kind of jumping skill, you can easily get over the 6, 7. Yeah. Sidearm jump technique, which is what a lot of players are going towards now. Makes a good jump shot. Does not get rewarded. That one's tough. You'd have to really let that out to try to come around 2 rails to get an edge on the 3. And trying to hold it there with that angle of the cut, I'm not even sure that's possible on a jump shot. Cue ball holds a lot of energy. So this is tough. He made a good shot on the 2, but now he's hooked again. Good. Try to go rail first, maybe. Get above the 9 and come off into the 3. Going down below, it's dicey. The 8 is in the way of the natural 1 rail kick. Try to come on the right side of the 8 with right hand spin to tighten it up. Yeah, he's in a tough spot. Unless he's got the right edge, which he might. He looks like he's aiming above it. Nope, he had the right edge. Okay. That works. Use that wall. 6, 7, and 8 is really coming into play in this game. So taking a look at this, there is a 1 rail kick available here. Send the 3 towards the 9. The jump shot is on to get over this pack, to get over that little wall of balls. You're on the rail, you're shooting off the rail, and I think I have enough of the cue ball to execute a good jump shot. But I'm just looking at the 1 rail kick. I know I can make a good hit on the 3. I feel confident about the contact. And I call the 9 ball, make sure that he sees. I'm looking at my lines. I think with this sort of shot, you really don't want to put too much energy into the 1 rail kick combination into the 9. You want to call it in case it goes that way, but just focus on making a good hit. Good hit, but pretty thin. Definitely could have come fuller into that 3 ball. And I didn't hook him this time, but he's got a long shot on the 4 and the shape on the, or long shot on the 3, and the shape on the 4 is not great. The combo between the 4-5 is not just wired up right now. So he's got some work to do. He can kind of roll through and see what he can do off the 4. You don't really want to play that combination. It just doesn't go the way it's lying right now. So plays good speed, rolls that in, takes a look at how the 4 and 5 are lined up. And it's hard to tell. Like I said, I don't really know this guy, but it's like a bit of frustration coming through. It was closer than I thought. 5 definitely could have gone. Shape on the 4 wouldn't have been that great, but now we've got the option to play a carom, right? You can just play the cue ball off the 4 into the 5. And what I'm looking at is when I use the 4 that way, it's going to send it down table. You want to try to control the speed on the 4 such that you're making the 5 and leaving yourself a shot on the 4. You don't want to overplay this one. So it takes a nice easy touch, pocket that 5, leave the 4 in a good spot, which we do. I wouldn't really want to mess with the 6-8 combination here. You don't need to complicate that. Yeah, just get to this long rail over here, roll in behind the 6, and leave yourself some kind of line on the 6, and it will send you towards the 7. Underplayed that just slightly. We don't want to be on the rail here, but you're still fine. This is still a makeable ball, and the cue ball rolls towards the 7. This is one of those where you got to bear down, keep your composure, check your cut line. Yep. Good to roll up there with confidence. Again, erring on the side of overplaying. You don't want to try to hold that up too much and then risk missing the 6. Yeah, I like this. 1, 2, 3, and then shoot has been working out really well. And that was a good stroke. Put a good stroke on that one. Lots of options to get on the 9 here. You can simply play it in the side. You can go down below it and play it in the bottom left corner. Come with low outside and get above it to play it in the same corner as the 8. Player preference here. I decided to just stun draw back and minimize cue ball travel and just take the cut on the 9. Take a breath, get composed. A couple practice strokes while standing up. 1, 2, and shoot, but it worked out this time. That's a tough one. That's a tough one, guys. Really good match. I'm glad I pulled that one out. Made it through this. Really solid player, and there were certainly some rolls. I think I caught more rolls than he did. So I would love to see this guy in a tournament again. I'd love to play him in a longer race. I'd love to give him a better game. You know, I wasn't running out necessarily and just taking advantage of those rolls. But as we all know, that's an aspect of the game. You take what you're given here. So thanks for hanging out. We're moving through this tournament, and let's see what happens in the next round. We'll catch you next time.